This will probably be posted like less than 2 weeks, more than 1 week if I'm lucky, before the update comes out, and I'm sure everyone is already convinced one way or the other. I'm not here to convince you that this theory is true. I am here so I can tell everyone I told you so when that update drops. And because like all the discussion that I've seen on this theory is about how it would or wouldn't make sense in terms of the world building and kind of surface level story, and I have some thoughts about how it makes sense in terms of the narrative and for the themes and characters, and I'd like to share that with the world before it becomes completely irrelevant or I'm just proven wrong entirely. If I am wrong, if this theory is wrong, I'm not taking this down, I'm living with my shame. Also, I don't know anything about the leaks. I heard there's leaks. I don't know anything about them because leaks are immoral and they hurt both the actual team of artists behind the game and your enjoyment of the story. That aside. First off, I just want to bring to everyone's attention, they are definitely not done with Elder Faerie. Whether he's not actually dead or there's going to be more flashbacks with him in them, I can tell you for a fact he's going to show up in the story again. They go on way too much about his origins being mysterious and him knowing a weird amount about the witch's magic and him somehow having a moonstone, for that to have just been it for him. Also, let me quickly address the argument that some people are saying that, oh, Elder Faerie is physically dead, he can't possibly be Siren Soul, because the other beasts were very much physically dead too. Dark Enchantress Cookie had to make them new bodies to put their souls into. It's their souls locked in the tree. The fact that he's dead does not mean he can't come back as Siren Soul, because you just need his soul. And his soul does exist, because it comes back to haunt White Faerie. Anyway. I think Siren Soul is Elder Faerie because it makes sense thematically. I'm not sure what the theme of Cookie Run Kingdom as a story is. According to the livestream before the September update, what we have seen of the story so far is a little less than half of it, and I think you'll forgive me for not figuring out the theme of the entire story, only knowing half of it, but Beastist as a chapter, an arc, I guess, of the story, does have its own theme. So, what is Beastist about? It's the tragedy of the beasts. What the beasts all have in common is that they were created and forced into these very restricting roles, some of which are honestly pointless and don't make that much sense for the thing that they're meant to represent. Seriously, how is one meant to spread knowledge by just sitting in a tower and answering people's questions? And though some of them did do actual crimes, for some of them I could argue that they did nothing wrong, the crimes that they were accused of and punished for are mostly just their attempts to either get away from those roles, like burning spies who simply couldn't live like that anymore, or to do the thing that they are meant to represent, but in the way that they think is better. Like Eternal Sugar, who did want people to be happy and believed her garden was the only way to really achieve that. Shadowmilk is also a good example of both, because of course he is. And it does really seem like they weren't really punished for the crimes. Like, did Mystic Flower actually do anything wrong? She might have wanted to turn the whole world to flower, I guess, but she didn't get to. All she actually did was lock herself in her cocoon. What was she punished for? Just for abandoning her duty? Shadowmilk definitely implies in episode 8 that, at least the way he sees it, the crimes were not so relevant as the simple fact that they dared to defy the witches. That is the tragedy of the beasts. They were punished for trying to be more than their purpose. And then there's Elder Faerie. He too has a purpose, given to him by the witches, to guard the silver tree. And he never once questions it. He does his duty perfectly, to the point he ends up dying for it. And in episodes 1 and 2, this is framed as a good thing. A noble sacrifice that should be not celebrated, he did die, but praised. You're meant to see him as simply wise and noble and good, the role model, I guess, the wise old man. But that doesn't really make sense. In the context of the entire story of Beasties, the story about how unfair it is to punish people for trying to be more than such roles, about how restricting such a purpose would be, it should be tragic that he dies for his, just in the middle of the episode, trying to stop Shadowmilk and achieving pretty much nothing, that he never gets to question it, that he doesn't even once dare to question it. What's also weird about Beasties episode 2 is White Rail's character arc, which I say with hopefully audible quotation marks because it just doesn't make sense to me. Because the way that I've seen people usually take it, and what seems to be the most logical interpretation, is that she learns responsibility. She was too careless with her research, she only focused on how to get there and didn't consider the consequences of her actions, and she ended up hurting people she cared about because she fucking vanished, and also ruining the entire world. And when she comes back and the silver tree is breaking, also as a consequence of her actions, she's given the power of the guardian, the power to fix it. And she learns that she has to take responsibility for her actions and promises to spend the rest of her life trying to fix her mistake and guarding the silver tree, making sure this won't happen again. And that's good, she's learned her lesson. Except she's learned nothing, because in the beginning of episode 7 she leaves the fairy kingdom anyway, and when she goes back she doesn't say it's because of the kingdom that she is now presumably in charge of. It's because she wants to learn more about the witches. She wants to continue her research and to spend the rest of her life fixing her mistakes. Just, first off, are we sure that's a good thing? That's just kinda sad. And of course she's learned nothing, it's White Lily, of course she wants to continue her research. Is she not meant to represent freedom? Does this, spending the rest of her life making sure this can never happen again, guarding the silver tree, not go against her freedom? As it is, these things are just sort of unaddressed. It is good that White Lily has the power of the Guardian now, and it is good that Elder Faerie sacrificed himself. These things, Elder Faerie as a character just doesn't really fit into the story that Beastist is trying to tell. The only thing we know about Silent Salt is that he is a traitor. From the flashback at the end of episode 8, we know that he helped in some way with trapping the beasts. We don't know what he did. Maybe his crimes weren't that bad, maybe he pleaded with the witches, maybe he was never truly corrupted and was just pretending to win the others' trust. Point is, it was decided that he doesn't deserve to be put in the tree. He doesn't deserve to be punished with the rest of them. He also doesn't fit into the team in that sense. He isn't an example of it like the other beasts. He isn't tragic because he was punished unfairly. As far as we know so far, he wasn't punished. He isn't tragic. He is good in the eyes of the witches. To us, to the audience, he's a traitor. It's revealed in the end of episode 8 when you definitely are meant to feel bad for Shadowmilk. Like, look at his face, he's so sad. You are meant to hate the guy that betrayed Shadowmilk. His story too doesn't follow the same pattern as the other beasts in regard to his role, but unlike Elder Faerie, it does make sense for him to be here. He follows his purpose, he is rewarded for it, and we are meant to hate him. He's still highlighting the same theme, just in the entirely opposite way than the other beasts are. And if the beast's crime is defying the witches, abandoning their duties, then would it not make sense that if he is redeemed, if he gets a second chance, what he gets is a new purpose, a new duty that he will serve without complaint, because now he knows the consequences, to spend the rest of his life fixing his mistakes, making sure they never happen again. The opposite of freedom, to guard the silver tree. And if Elder Faerie is Silent Salt, that makes him make sense in the story. He doesn't go against the team. The fact that he does nothing but fulfill his purpose with this context is tragic. He gives White Lily the power of the Guardian because he is scared. He is scared of what might happen if he disappears, not only because the beast will be free, but because it means he will have failed. He wants her to have it because, well, she does have his soul gem now, maybe she truly is the only one who can physically inherit that power. But maybe because he is trying to get her to learn responsibility. He's scared of what she might find out, because no one is meant to know that much about the witches. The witches do not want that much known about them. Of course, her arc makes no sense. He is not wise and noble. He is terrified, because now he knows what the consequences are of going against the will of beings you cannot possibly defy. Also, if Silent Salt is Elder Faerie, then there's definitely some narrative parallels there with him doing his purpose so perfectly and Shadowmilk being the beast cookie that refuses to do what the witches want. And I think that's good. Thing is, I don't think it makes sense for Silent Salt to just be some guy that we've never met before, because in the context of the greater story, Pure Vanilla, White Lily, and Shadowmilk have so many narrative parallels and threads tying them together. From simple things like White Lily and Pure Vanilla literally going to Shadowmilk's academy and straight up summoning him, to everything about them, the way they act as characters and relate to the world and to themselves, to even the three of them sharing the same musical theme. Those three are so tied together, and to just bring in another guy, just some new guy to be White Lily's beast, I'm sure he'd still have some interesting parallels to her, but it just feels awkward when these three are such a tangled mess of narrative threads to have him just be there. He needs some parallels to Shadowmilk too, at least. And we could probably find some parallels to Pure Vanilla as well if we really wanted to. But for now I'm satisfied with my square only having one diagonal. That being said, I also have some fun surface level, haha, they said this thing once arguments, that could honestly point to literally anything else or nothing at all, but I'm going to list them anyway because me, when I correctly identify for shadowing, like, if you go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 of Beastist with this theory in mind, looking for proof for it, it just kind of makes sense. Other than the fact that they look the same, because, like, look at them. Like, look at them. I was going to say here that Silent Salt smells of defense cookie, but now we know that he's gonna be ambushed and I feel so bad. I will point out that they did make him darkness and steel type, and steel type are literally like only the holy berry cookies and the fairy cookies, which is suspicious. Also, they're both bugs. Elder Fairy is a butterfly and Silent Salt is a spider. Or like, I've seen some people say he's an ant, and I guess ant would make more sense for the like not having any free will sort of theme, but I think he's a spider. There's the fact that Elder Fairy knows a suspicious amount about the witch's magic, as I said. There's like the loading screen about him says this, and like, why does he have Moonstone, and why does he know like the reviving ritual? Like, that's suspicious. And also like, mysterious origin. He has mysterious origins, you say. And also like, Shadowmere calls him old, which is weird. Because, like, if he was made around the time that the Beasts were imprisoned, or, like, a little earlier, I guess, like, why would Shadowmere call him old? Like, he's literally younger than you, girly. There's also, like, things about White Lily, like, her Guardian of the Seals form outfit thing suspiciously doesn't have her soul gem, and also, like, when she comes to the Fairy Kingdom, like, when they tell the story of when she came to the Fairy Kingdom the first time, there's Silverbell goes something like, about her magic, that it was the only time he'd seen something that would rival Elder Fairy's magic, and that's okay, interesting thing to point out. There's also just Shadowmere in episode 2, like, my notes for this just say Shadowmere is gay. like Shadowmere hates him a suspicious amount in episode 2, like, and just acts like he knows him, even though he doesn't. Like, I guess it could be Shadowmere being like, oh, you tell everyone about me but you don't actually know who I am, but like, it's just the way that he talks is like suspicious. And also like, it kind of gives Shadowmere's show in episode 7 and 8 a little bit more meaning, I would say, if it's the second time that we see him do it, like, that his show in episode 2 isn't just him being annoying, it is also him trying to prove a point, and the point that he's trying to prove is to Elder Fairy that he sucks and is a horrible person. There's also, like, I won't go very into detail on this, but his relationship to White Lily, because the thing that they bond over, I guess, like, that they keep going on about is about how they share the same goal for the good of all cookie kind or whatever. And, like, the, like, bonding over having the same goal is, like, the literal definition of solidarity, and I'm not okay. And also the thing that he says when he dies to White Lily, that's, like, a heart that beats for one's friends is a heart that beats for all cookie kind, is the, like, is also a definition of solidarity, like the more, like, political philosophy thing. I don't know, Poof knows about this, Poof told me about this. Ask Poof, honestly. And, like, Pure Vanilla's Beast gets to show up in Beastist episodes 1 and 2. Why shouldn't White Lilies also be foreshadowed? They're the devs' 2 favorite characters, and I will die on this hill. I am also not over, White Lily going, is that all there is to you, Guardian of the Seal? Like, that is not okay. I'm not putting that in because... Shadowmere? Hello, Shadowmere. There's also... Pervane also goes, when he talks about the ritual to revive White Lily, he's like, magic so strange, it's so just, and Pervane goes, how the hell is that fair? Which is very Shadowmere of you, Pervane.
This is why Shadowmere loves you, Pervane.
Indeed.
On one hand, I was like, if you keep this in, you also need to keep it. This is why Shadowmere loves you, Pervane. On the other hand, no, because good luck trying to figure out which cookies we should.
Truly. Him. He sucks. Any funny thoughts to put at the end? People are now going to go to my channel, and like the last thing posted is the fucking animatic shipping Shadowmere and Silent Salt. Guys, I'm not biased, I promise. So, what is Beastist about? It's the
Shadowmere.
Shadowmere cookie. I love you, Shadowmere. I am taking a side in the fictional character divorce, and it's Shadowmere. Shadowmere is correct.
So shadow milk.
Shadow milk cookie.
That's the point.
Actually, the point here is shadow milk cookie.
Clearly.
He is not relevant, he is. They're so divorced. They're so divorced.